All rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Charlie, the system's not working yet? Almost? Getting that way, right? Okay.
All kinds of cameras.
There we go.
It is, huh?
All right. They're not working yet, so. Welcome tonight to the February 11th Board of Trustees meeting. We always start with the recognizing the Employee of the Month. This month it's Christopher Talbot from the building inspector in the building department. He was hired in March of 2001, and he was nominated by Daniel Burns and Bill McCoy, and they wrote, we the understand would like to nominate Christopher Talbot for Employee of the Month. Chris is a great asset to us in reevaluation process of the village assessed values. His knowledge of the status of the building permits is outstanding, an incredibly useful tool. He goes above and beyond to help us, and we truly appreciate him. We're very fortunate to have him in the village's employ. We enthusiastically recommend him as a candidate for Employee of the Month. Congratulations to Chris, and he wrote to Dear Mayor Appley and the village board members, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting. I'd like to thank you for the award being given tonight. It's been a pleasure working for the village. I very much appreciate this. Thanks again, Christopher Talbot. So, congratulations, Chris. Great job, and he does a nice job in that building department. So, okay, so we are going to have public comment. We have one person signed up for public comment. Bruce?
The wind is far too fierce out there to come out tonight. Actually, I just want to tell you a little story. When I was living in Montreal, I met with the mayor of Montreal. And I made a drapeau, and he said, "Oh, Monsieur Buckman, how do you like living in Montreal?" And I says, "It's beautiful, but the weather here is just awful." And he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Weather's a federal matter." So if you know anybody in Washington who could do something for us, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Use that one.
Anyways, once again, I'm here with regard to the subject of the authority of the Architecture Review Board. In August, we presented an opinion letter to you all from the law firm of Meyer and Swazi, stating very carefully and with a very considered case that the authority of the Architecture Review Board was being interpreted extremely conservatively, and as a result of two legal opinions, one based upon the Ferrara case, and the other one was basically an opinion that the Architecture Review Board did not have the authority to reduce the size of a building or a structure if that structure fell within the zoning limitations. And we think that the opinion of Meyer and Swazi really deserves your attention. This is very important to the village, to be sure that we clarify that the Architecture Review Board has certain authorities. We've got lawsuits, a couple of them that I know of, and I think there's another one coming, that are a result of that issue. And what I'd like to do, and you know, Jay and I have been doing this about every month since August, is ask you as trustees to step up and take this issue under consideration. We're not asking you to change the opinion, or not the opinions, but the decisions of the Architecture Review Board. But we really think that there is some undue restrictions upon that authority, which negates its ability to carry out the mandate that is set forth very specifically in the code. And we think it's time that you really, and I think it's definitely time, that we step up and take a look at this issue and try and get it resolved for the benefit of the village and for the benefit of all of the people who are trying to do various things here that impact upon our historic districts and our housing construction. So it's been ignored. I mean, it really has been ignored.
It's not been ignored.
Well, it's been ignored publicly.
Well, it's been sent to the Architectural and Historic Review Board. taking this into consideration, some of their decisions, and that the village board is actively engaged, somebody to help us with looking at GFA and lot coverage, and those are all tools that have been requested. I know that the Architecture and Historic Review Board is contemplating an expansion of the historic district, which is another component to it. So, I mean, the letter has not been ignored by them.
But Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I fully appreciate and do appreciate all the things that have been done. This is a different issue. This is basically something which goes to the authority of the board, impacts upon the thinking of the board members, does not impact upon it impacts directly upon their thinking of each individual case. If basically they think that they've got one authority in the code, and basically they have a mandate out of that code, and they have a legal opinion that they can't exercise that mandate, they can't make the same quality of decisions, and I really think the authority needs to be dealt with, not necessarily the specific issues, which we all think you're all paying attention to, the village is paying attention to, and is making progress. It's two different issues.
All right, I respect that, and Bill, did you want to say something?
You know, it's,
Oh, that's awesome.
this doesn't, are you familiar with the house?
That's the White House, right? Captain
Is
White
it?
House? Is that the one on the corner?
No, this is
Oh,
on
no.
West
No,
Prospect
no,
Street.
sorry.
I wanted to
Oh,
each
no.
to have, there's two.
I thought that
you
was
know,
the
and
Captain White
just
House.
in- I don't know if you've seen this house, Bruce, but it
Oh,
just
I've
seems
seen
so
this. Oh,
out
I've seen this
of
house.
place. And you can sort of, one of them shows you the house next to it. And architecturally, I just can't
What
believe.
street is this on?
This is
It's on
West Prospect Street,
It's
yeah.
two houses in from Halsey Neck, and it's on the south side of the street. But it is the
Halsey Street.
It is the plainest, I mean, you talk about original sin or something like that, just that roof and the zinc roof or whatever it is. And I wish we could just sit down with them and not to chew somebody out. Let's find out, one of two things is wrong, in my opinion, and that is either they're not exercising their authority because they think they don't have it, or our rules aren't clear, and we've got to make it clear that you do have the authority. When somebody comes in and puts this up, and there's a nice house on, by the way, on the east side of it, architecturally, it's very attractive, and the fact that it's white and the roof, and there's not, this picture doesn't show you the others.
Because I only see this one.
Pardon me?
I'd like to see this picture.
Oh,
too.
okay, I
Can you give
didn't
this picture?
give it, maybe I didn't give you enough for,
Well, I know
anyhow.
exactly what
Rick, I
house
didn't
it
make
is.
enough for you to get one
No, I
too,
got
but
one.
I wish we could think about it and just sit down and have a conversation with them, because this just shouldn't happen, you know, that's.
Well,
that's-
here's what I'm
And
gonna
there's a
say.
lot of others, I think, that are, there's a lot of extremism. You know, I've been talking about this peaked roof that they have in front of so many houses, and if that house had been just beveled, that would smooth it out. But it's, you talk about original sin, that
Oh,
house
when
is.
it-
tell you about.
But this property actually, they wouldn't be able to build the house that high.
Now,
Now?
This is a height change that
When
we
did it get
in
approved?
sometime. Oh, this was approved,
because they're still working on it by
Spring.
the look of it.
yeah, I think.
I thought, well,
But I think.
even architecturally, okay, let's just say
Well,
that's true.
you know, like, yeah.
God in heaven. And, you know, there's been so many of these things that are, the one over here on Burnett
Yeah.
Street that people were complaining about, you know,
Yeah.
all they had to do was tell them to bevel the roof, and you know what I said at one of your previous meetings about these things are just awful, I think, but I wish we could sit down with them and clear up, it's not to chew somebody out, but at least get clear, and if our rules aren't strong enough, then
No, I
we've
think
got
that-
something to do, and if they're just interpreting them wrong, which I frankly think is the case, they don't seem to, you know, even when you talk about this maybe having gotten approved before it could have been
Well,
lower,
I think-
it's just the
yeah.
architecture is
I
just,
think the issue is
god-awful.
that it's pretty out of character for the street.
yeah, it is.
And it's
our
comparison
laws
from a height
address
standpoint of
that.
the houses and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a,
Roof alone is interesting, will that be good?
yeah, so, you know, but architecture is part of their purview, and to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why it had to be
So-
white when you see these other houses with brown shingles and so on. And it's been said many times, they don't touch anything. I mean, you said something that, at some meeting, that what's his name, the architect, Brian, was good on windows or something like that, but God in heaven, there's more, the problem isn't windows.
Well, in this house, it would have looked a lot better if they had more windows. I think there's
Yeah,
too
it
much
just-
wall here.
And there's, roof doesn't even overhang the,
10 seconds.
Sure.
Again, with all due respect, that's not the issue.
Yeah.
This house is not the issue.
Right.
Nothing that you're talking about is the issue. The issue
the
is, what
issue
does
is-
the ARB have the authority to
To
do
do, yeah.
and not do? And that is right now extremely unclear. And there's a lot of discontent and there's a lot of argument about what the ARB can do. And I think for their sake, they're sitting there thinking they've got one mandate and they've got legal opinions that say,
Yeah, they
under
can't.
certain restrict things, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I just think to run the village well and to give our people a break that are on those boards, we ought to get that clarified. And it's got nothing to do with windows, and it's got nothing to do with peaked roofs and
Sure.
nothing of that sort. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. He's the only one who's signed up. Anybody else from the public like to speak? Okay, so we're gonna go to board presentations here. First, we're gonna Halsey Neck Culvert there.
Me? You should all have one page of about a 10-page report on the culvert. Last summer, as you probably all know, we had a water main break on the east side of the culvert that washed out the bottom, the head wall, and that whole culvert and head wall are all made out of block. Some blocks fell in, we lost some roadway, and since then you've seen barriers up there and cones and barrels, etc. So it's taken us from then till now to get a DEC permit to talk about replacement. Sorry, we'll go back one. When we went to inspect, we also found that not only was the east side damaged from some of the water, but the west side was also falling into the creek. And at that point, the engineers determined that its life was very short and that we should talk about total replacement rather than trying to repair what was existing. So we now have attained a DEC permit. Dunn Engineering has drawn this plan up. It looks very busy, but it's really all it is you're looking at a total replacement of the culvert. The brick will be replaced by concrete. Instead of a 5-foot round, it will be an oval shape, 43-inch by 72, I believe, somewhere in that area. What will happen was we'll excavate the whole roadway. We will bring in a prefab head wall for each side, prefab pipe for going across the road, and we'll keep the road open as long as possible. And then at some point, we would have to go in and excavate, put it all in. The process of closing the road would take about 2 weeks. The total project, if we went out to bid, next week, we could have this done by May 15th. All right. And if we have problems with the utilities for some reason that we run into extra time, we could still have the roadway open by May 15th if we had to come back in the fall and do some extra repairs. In addition to just a regular replacement, it will grow 5 feet in each direction to the side, which will allow us to put in a guide rail and have a shoulder on each side. All right, so that's,
This is down by Meadow Lane, or
yes, it's
Yes.
on.
corner of Halsey Neck and Meadow?
Right over by Bruce's house.
just short of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
It's wonderful, it slows down the traffic.
This should speed it up.
That's true.
But
No,
that's
I
really
think
about,
we need to go out for bid on this. It's a safety issue. It's something we have to take care of because that road's gonna collapse if we don't.
actually having a guide rail there would be a wonderful thing.
Right.
In my lifetime, I've never seen anybody go off the side, but it's always just been there straight.
Right. Yeah.
So should you allow us to go out to bid, we'll advertise next week and, take a 2-week letting period, et cetera, and try to get going on this.
So, yeah, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Public Works Department to go out to bid on the Halsey Neck culvert as prepared in the document dated, what the date is on this? 28/15.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, we got, presentations, so we got the ambulance department up first. Sorry, Mike, we had the ambulance commissioner and the fire commissioner do an arm wrestling contest, and they won.
It's a tough one.
Ambulance is the right arm, you were the left.
You're gonna
So,
miss.
okay,
Oh, we can't
There
see
you
it over
go.
here.
You guys wanna come
Public
down
can
here,
see
or?
it.
yeah, let's do that, let's go down.
Yeah.
Let's see.
They're gonna miss some of the Democratic debate, which every fireman wants to watch.
Yeah. Just trying to figure out where they're gonna plant the money trees. That's right.
Those copper pennies, right?
All right, good evening. I'm Rick Fowler. I'm chief of the volunteer ambulance department in the village. I'm going to start off by giving you a brief history of our department. So our department was founded in 1993. We are a New York State Department of Health certified advanced life support agency. In 2012, we are recognized as the Suffolk County Agency of the Year. Our department also does many community programs monthly, which I'll get into. And we provide 24/7 emergency care to the residents of the village of Southampton, as well as neighboring districts. So right now, our current membership, we have 68 volunteers. That consists of 6 advanced EMTs, 21 EMT basic that are also drivers, 17 drivers, and 24 assistants. We took on 10 new members this past year. In addition to our volunteer membership, we also have 14 paid advanced life support providers, which provides 24-hour coverage each day. These consist of 12-hour shifts, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. These advanced life support providers are paramedics that are always in our building, ready to go at a moment's notice. They get out the door as soon as the call goes out and start patient care, while the volunteers are responding to our headquarters and crewing up the ambulance and getting that to the scene. So it's a way to expedite the process and start providing care quicker. So our call volume has gone up over the last few years. As you can see, in 2013 we're at 667. 2014 we went up to 771, and this past year, 2015, we ended with 820 emergency calls. So in 2015, our mutual aids also, they went down a little bit. They started to go up from 2013, but this year we finished up a little bit less. It just gives you the neighboring districts that we go to, the number of mutual aids. So as you can see by this chart, our busiest time is usually about July and August. This past July, we hit our record number of calls in a month, which was 118. Previous to that, I think we were at 102 or 108. So we did have a busy summertime here. These are just some pictures of some various trainings. So this past year, our response time went down a little bit. Every second counts. Last year, we were at 4 minutes and 2 seconds. This past year, we were at 3 minutes and 56 seconds, with 96% of our calls having someone there in under 9 minutes, which is the Suffolk County standard. That's what they recommend. But really, 60% of our calls, someone is there in under 4 minutes. So this is one of the best times in the county. Most other departments are, probably double this. So this is partially due to the addition of the paid first responder program that we have. Like I said before, as soon as a call goes out, These guys are out the door and to the patient, usually within 3 minutes starting patient care. So this is our manpower by month totals for our calls. So with our number of calls, our average manpower for the whole year was just over 4,000 man hours, and this was just for calls. In addition to the calls, we also have non-call volunteer hours, and this consists of duty crews when the volunteers are on call at nighttime, doing standbys, classes and trainings, meetings, drills, and other non-call activities. There's constant recertifications and continuing medical education. So all in all that from last year added up to just about 25,000 volunteer hours. As I mentioned, we did standbys. We have a huge request for standbys each year. This is where we go to different events and stand by in case there's an emergency. We go to nearly 40 events a year. This includes all the home varsity football games, all the charity runs here in the village, the Polar Bear Plunge, all the different parades, Septemberfest, graduation ceremony, the Special Olympics, large funerals and wakes, and every time there's a snowstorm or severe weather, like a hurricane coming through, we also do standbys in-house so the volunteers don't have to drive in the inclement weather. In addition to this, we also cover neighboring districts during events as well. We help them out with special events and when they are unable to answer calls. So these are just some pictures from the Special Olympics and the Polar Bear Plunge. So the total volunteer hours for last year with the calls and the non-calls combined, it was 28,895 volunteer hours. So this equates to about 62 working days per full member that they volunteer to the Village of Southampton, which is quite impressive. It's a lot of time that they're providing, and they're saving the village a lot of money by volunteering this time. Some awards we received last year. We were awarded a Suffolk County Regional EMS Council CPR Save Award. We're actually going to get another one from last year presented to us in a couple weeks here from cardiac arrest calls where there was a positive outcome and the patient walked out of the hospital. And the second one was from the Stony Brook University Heart Institute. It's a STEMI award, which was a heart attack. We recognized that it was a heart attack, treated the person right away, flew him to Stony Brook, and they pulled him right into the operating room, and they survived it. So we received that award as well. In 2015, 8 of our 8 newly certified EMTs, so 8 members decided to become EMT Basic, and the basic course consists of about 150 hours. 2 of our members right now are currently enrolled in an EMT critical care course, and that course consists of roughly 800 hours. And we had 4 EMT Basics recertify, and the recertification is about 110 hours. Training is ongoing. We have continuing medical education classes, and we also train with neighboring EMS and fire agencies. To remain on the cutting edge, we always have to keep training and improving. We can't just sit back and wait. So our volunteers are always training and learning new skills and new types of medications to give and new practices. So we have our community CPR program that we offer monthly, American Heart Association CPR classes. We continue this every month. We have our website which you can sign up on. Anyone that's interested in learning CPR, go to villagecpr.org. You'll see all the available upcoming classes and you can sign up. In addition to these monthly classes, we also certified all the village DPW employees, and we also certified the Southampton firefighters. We also do CPR training in the schools. This consists of hands-only CPR, relief of choking using a defibrillator, and basic first aid. We taught in the intermediate school this past year, which was approximately 100 students, and also OLH, which was about 75 students. So this coming year, some of our goals, we'd like to increase our number of certified CVO instructors, which are driving emergency vehicle instructors, as well as our CPR instructors. We're planning to roll out a new community first aid program to go along with our community CPR program. So we'll be offering not only CPR to the public, but also first aid programs, which would also consist of babysitting courses and wilderness rescue and some courses like that. We also want to enroll more members in EMT classes. We plan to update some of our dispatch policies and protocols. We have some vehicles that we need to start looking at replacing. We'd like to improve our emergency communications, because sometimes right now on calls we're having issues communicating with each other and our dispatchers. And we're also going to begin construction of our new headquarters, which has been long in the works. We're planning right on schedule, should start construction of that next month. The community CPR classes, like I said, they're offered monthly. The class sizes are increasing. We've had so much interest in our classes, we cannot offer these at our own headquarters anymore. So the fire department's been very nice to let us use one of their firehouses each month when we do these courses. We'd like to roll out our Heart Safe Community Initiative, which would certify different businesses and business employees in CPR. And part of this would also have us install AEDs throughout the village and in public places and businesses. We want to install emergency call towers, which would house the AEDs in various points of the village. And we're going to keep doing the CPR in the schools. The more people we certify, the better. And working with the different school districts and getting it as part of their curriculum, it's saving lives. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
No, it's on behalf of everybody in the board. I mean, thank you for everything you guys do and volunteering and protecting our community and great information and stuff. So, yeah,
It's a lot of
I
hours.
know, a lot of hours. So, 62 man hours and
Yeah, 62 working days.
working days.
Yep.
So, wow, it's a lot. So,
A lot of time donated.
yeah, well, great. Thank you. Thanks.
You guys.
Need a PowerPoint there, Chief?
One of these days you'll let me go first, so I don't have to follow this PowerPoint he has.
Can we sit down over there?
Yeah, I'm just talking, so.
So, sorry again, he forgot my PowerPoint again this year. I'm Mike Camp, I'm Mike Camp, Chief of Salient Fire Department. This year, the fire department's actually, we're not really celebrating it, but it's our 135th year. The fire department started back in 1881. In 2015, we had training 667 events, which totaled about 1,661 man-hours, or hours of training. The man-hours are about 16,200. Our alarm calls in 2015 were up drastically from 2014. 2014, we ran about 128 less general alarms. Our general alarms, which are actual fires, anything other than just the chiefs running out, were about 400 calls. Chiefs investigations were 786, for a total of 1,186 calls for 2015. We were up 248 from 2014. Majority of our calls are chiefs calls, where the chiefs and the captains are the only ones rolling out to alarms going off, CO alarm malfunctions, cooking, showers, whatever it may be, setting them off. Our mutual aids are pretty low for the fire department, as opposed to them. We only run about 21 mutual aids. Calls here in the village were up in the 628. Calls in the district, we're running 453. And calls to our reservation were 48. In 2015, I know my last presentation, we were working on the two new pumpers that we bought. They went into service this past year and have been doing a magnificent job. So in the last year and a half, 3 new engines to the fire department, to our ranks, and they've all been proven their weight in gold. For 2016,
We're starting to look at some long-term replacements. Our packs that we breathe air with in all calls are gonna come due. We're trying to plan that in around the 2020, 2021 year. So we wanna start looking at, trying to stage having to get these replaced. And some of our bigger pieces of equipment, like our ladder truck, the big Bronto that we have, we're gonna start considering what to do with that. Let it go to the end of its life, or start looking to see if it has any value left to someone that might be able to recoup us some money and ease the purchase of a new one. This year, we also look to replace one of our chief's trucks or captain's vehicles. And similar to Rick and the ambulance, July seems to be our busiest time of the year too. I think with the influx of people in the summer months, it seems to be when we have our influx of calls. Our manpower hours in July are around 1,900 compared to, December, January time where we're down around 200, 250. So our call manpower hours were around 8,500 for the year. So our total is similar to the ambulance. We're around 24,000 total manpower hours for the year, but a little more on calls, a little less in training on our side. It was an interesting year. Some of our house fires, we didn't seem to have small ones or anything. We always seem to have the big ones. The July call on Wine Dance that we had, that I
Your
think
birthday.
my birthday, and I think we had just about every fire department in the 7th Division here in Southampton help turn us out that day. I like to have big parties. That's
Yeah.
what it really was.
What do you give a fire chief for his birthday? 7.
But this past year, we had 44 structure fires.
Wow.
The chief's alarms were up around 621. Vehicle fires at 13. EMS assists, or 8. A lot of times in the winter months especially, we'll run out with the ambulance. Rick and I have been working on it, and with the town, we've been working on it, especially with the snow. Can they get up a driveway? Can they get to a driveway? We'll provide the bigger trucks in case someone gets stuck. Mutual aids, we had 22. And zone responses, which we go from, if we have someone who calls in a smell of gas, we don't just want to go with just us 3 chiefs. We'll bring a truck with us, and we had about 100 of those. So it's been a busy year, and it's shaping up to be that way. We've already had quite an interesting beginning to this year. The church fire over on North Main, North McGee, kind of sounded worse than it is. We had a member partially fall through the floor. We had to transport him to the hospital. Luckily, there were no physical injuries, more just emotional and mental on that. And another member slipped on the ice that day. And then after that, just about a week and a half ago, we had a dryer fire in the basement of a home on Major's Path that to all rights, we got very lucky. Old, poor plumbing that failed because of the fire actually turned the house's plumbing into a sprinkler system and contained the fire to the area it was. If it hadn't happened, we probably would have lost a good part of that house. So, you guys have any questions?
I mean, it's just when I think about the volume of calls here, 1,186 in a year, so it's over 3 times a day that you guys are being called out.
Yeah, the
Oh.
chief's alarms in the
Yeah.
past year have just gone through the roof.
Yeah. I mean, the chief's alarms are basically twice a day.
But it's a lot of nuisance calls too.
A lot of gas calls too. A lot of gas calls, the
Gas
gas.
calls.
There's a lot of gas issues on Job's Lane, which I know they
4th of July, we like to throw a monkey wrench into the parade and everything.
wanted to be part of the
We're
parade.
doing what we
exactly.
can to make ourselves
I know,
noticed, you know?
I know, yeah. But, no, you guys do a fantastic job. It's a great group of people volunteering and serving our community, and went down to the fire at Wine Dance where we had the great coordination from all the different departments that came, and that was actually a pretty scary fire, yeah, so,
There's a lot of us who said, in all 8, we haven't seen one like that in most of our years.
yeah.
That house was probably not the norm for most of the mansions that we have. That house was not built with TGI construction or truss construction. It was built with legacy constructions, 2x12s and everything, and it still hid from us. And when it finally took off, and, you know, things started collapsing in a big way.
Yeah.
When Dean and I went back the next day to try to help the family out, we saw what was racked and what was moved in that house, and there was no way anyone should have been in that house.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty dangerous. I mean, I watched a couple of fireballs blow out windows and stuff there. So I was, I guess, so it was just one of many that you guys responded to and stuff. But it was again, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everything that you do. Commissioner, there you got?
Yeah, like you said.
Yeah.
That fire, that was a hell of a fire. You know, was that as well, and again, a lot of the accidents. There's a lot of, again, all these guys always, you know, all the you know, the incidents and accidents we hear about on 39.
Yeah.
A lot of, that's where these guys are there, and they have to see this stuff first. So it's not always pretty.
What I'd like to say to the public is that, you know, we have volunteers that are responding. So if you see blue lights or green lights in a car, you're not really required to pull over and stuff, but realize that these are individuals that are responding to volunteer to serve our community. And
Get the hell out of the way.
yeah, and even on the accidents on County Road 39, I mean, you put your lives on the line just by going out and directing traffic, and people are driving too fast on 39, and there's too many accidents that are there, and there's been too many deaths on County Road 39, and it's all about speed and curb cuts and too much activity up there, and you know, and the fact you guys are leaving your families and your, you know, the two guys who were injured at the church, both business owners, family people, you know, volunteers, children, all of that stuff. So we recognize that, and we thank you guys for everything that you do.
Thank you.
So,
All right.
thanks, Chief, for
Thank
coming
you.
tonight. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief, come on up. Chief Cummins there.
All right, as you remember, I used to do a PowerPoint, but I think it's easier to just talk because we had a malfunction the last time we did it. As you may already know, Tom Cummings, Chief of the Police Department. We're old like the fire department, 121 years old. Well, we're incorporated with the village, but it was a constable. It was constables before that. So it goes back to kind of the beginning. I have a bunch of statistics, but they don't really tell the story, but I'll run through them quick, and then we can, you know, the police department's done so many things this past year. I could be here a lot longer than anybody would want me to be. But, you know, our motor vehicle accidents went up 5%, but they're in the general range of what they've been. 439 accidents this year as opposed to 418 last year. And as we all know, that was just, the village has been super busy the last couple of years, and not many of those were serious accidents, but they're still accidents. You know, our calls for service was almost 15,000 calls that the police responded to this year, which was up 3%. Our traffic tickets were down a little bit, but there's an explanation for that, but we were up from the year before, so, you know. The traffic stops were also down. One of the, without getting into a long thing, our village code enforcement, which the mayor and I and the rest of the board have talked about, like really focusing on village code. And the village code, we did 220 calls in 2014 and 673 in 2015. So the basically proportional difference in the traffic tickets versus village code, and the parking tickets and village code tickets are about the same. So we went down a few hundred traffic tickets, went up several hundred village code tickets. I mean, we had to do the Airbnb stuff. We had a massive amount of stuff to do down by the beach, and then just general like noise and general disorder in the village, you know.
What I always call the village code violations are quality of life issues.
Right.
That really impact the residents.
And I mean, if you look at our arrests went down, our criminal arrests, the crimes, went down 21%. but our disturbances went up 11%. Actually, no, they went up 49%. And the service calls went up 11%. So the village is moving in a direction of greater safety, but more just busyness, you know, and people not getting along with each other, and just
Pesty
the
stuff.
quality of life stuff that people that get,
I call it.
yeah, that annoys people.
Pesty, pesty
Pesty?
stuff. Pesty stuff.
And so, you know, like I said, we went down about 400 traffic tickets and up 300 village code tickets. So, you know, I have, like, we'll just take the beach as an example. When I became, Chief Wilson was chief, we used to have guys on the beach on a part-time, overtime basis. When I made chief, it was one of the things that I thought was needed more attention. I had one guy assigned to the beach. This past summer, I had a sergeant and 3 cops assigned to the beach, and it probably wasn't enough. That's how popular our beaches have become. And, you know, and the mayor has looked at it, and, you know, he's got some good ideas to help us make it even better for this year. We'll let him, you know, talk about that himself, but I think it'll be better this year, but it's still going to take a lot of effort on our part. Our detectives didn't have quite as many regular cases, which is, you know, a reflection of our lower number of arrests, but they had to do 18% more background investigations. Every time any kind of entity, including the military, like if you lived here and they're going to get security clearance or a police job or any kind of government job or even private industry job where you would need to get a background check, one of our detectives has to search our records and prepare a report to go back to that agency. And our guys did almost 900 background investigations. And, you know, this is serious stuff, so you can't just, you know, it takes part of their day. In terms of our dispatch center, you know, this was, you know, almost 37,000 times the phone rang in our dispatch room, and the 911 calls went up 160%. So, you know, they had 32,000 of those 37,000 calls were emergency calls, and the rest were just business calls. And, you know, they dispatched almost 19,000 calls of those 32,000. You know, almost 15,000 to the police department, and as chiefs have said, they had really busy years, and it's reflected here. And Bridgehampton went up 11%, and North Sea went up 17%. North Sea Fire Department and Bridgehampton Fire Department, we dispatched them as well. So everybody saw an increase in activity this year. You know, it just was really busy. And fortunately, it wasn't. I mean, we had a couple of, you know, incidents here and there. The most recent ones that I'll talk about is we had a burglary pattern that was both us and the town. Our guys worked with the town. The town made an arrest, but it was a cooperative effort. So we've got a handle on that burglary pattern. We arrested. We're not sure if, well, I don't want to get into it too much, but we pretty much got the guy responsible for a lot of the burglaries. It's not 100% certain that he did every one of them, but he did most of them. And then we had the shooting call, which, you know, if you read the press, there's been some comments, and I try not to look at the comments, but it's good to get some feedback. And, you know, within an hour of that happening, our detectives knew with pretty good detail what happened. So I know there was some criticism of us not putting out descriptions and vehicle descriptions, but, you know, if there's a public safety concern, we're certainly going to do that. But as I've said in the past, this wasn't a random thing, so I don't think there was a need to do that. We're pretty far along in that case. The state police helped us with the forensics on it, and you know, it's just good to have additional resources. You know, we just did a Crime Stoppers flyer on it with a reward because although we know what happened, there's not been quite the cooperation that we'd like to see, and you know, it's slowing the case down a little bit. I expect at some point there's going to be an arrest. We just, instead of rushing to make an arrest, we just, you know, want to do a thorough case and make sure that when we make the arrest, it sticks. So I know people want to see things resolved very quickly, but that's not necessarily always going to be the way it goes.
1 hour TV show, they could do it right.
You know, like I said, you know, it's tough, but, you know, I think it's better to do it right than do it fast. So.
We agree.
Yeah, no, definitely.
In terms of our, our goals for last year, the goals we had for last year were to continue beach patrol, which I've already talked about. Keep going on the training. I'd like to do, we've been busy, so it was we didn't do as much training as I'd like, but we did a good amount of training. We wanted to enhance the communication between myself and the ambulance and the fire department, and these guys we've got a great informal relationship, but we'd like to do a little more formal stuff together, and I know the mayor wants to do a drill, and I definitely have that on the agenda for this year with these guys, and we'll get it done. I don't really think we accomplished that goal, because like I said, we didn't really get some formal stuff done, we just talked to each other, So I think we could have done better with that. We wanted to do a school resource officer program. We have that up and running. We have Officer Kim McMahon in schools, and she's made a definite impact. And she's got to learn as she goes, so I'm sure we'll, look back on it and think we should have done some things differently, but that's how everything goes in life. So far, positive feedback. We've updated what we've had to update. Right now, Verizon is going to get out of the 911 business, so we have to redo the 911 system in the radio room, and I don't think there's going to be much cost to us, but it's still kind of like, there's some trepidation there because, as I said, 37 times the phone rang, and Verizon's not going to be there to fix it.
Right.
We're going to have a new company, and we have to see how they do. They came in and looked at our building yesterday, and they're not anticipating any problems, but that doesn't mean there won't be. So for this year, I'd like to, again, work on the beach. We got to update whatever we have to in the radio room. Our live scan computer system, which does the fingerprints, we're going to replace that this year. We got a $10,000 grant from the state. We're just waiting for them to pick a vendor. It's 13 years old now, the system we have, so it's time. As I already talked about doing the preparedness drill, we've been accredited, as you guys know, since 1993, and they put a new standard in having a continuity of operations standard, and you have to have a plan, and and that's a good thing, so we're going to develop a plan, and start with baby steps and just get a basic thing going this year, and then try to build on it. You obviously have budget considerations, all that, because they want you to be able to operate off-site, and we have to figure out how far off-site, because we're going to have the ambulance across the street from us, and in a perfect world, we just walk across the street and operate from there, but if our area up there's a problem for whatever reason, we may have to go even further afield, and we have to be able to plan for that. So that's one of the things we're going to do. And I'd like to see us go back up on the selective enforcement, because obviously having almost 450 accidents is not really ideal for us. So I'd like to see that go up by 10% and get us back kind of in the area of where we were last year. I think we had a good year last year with traffic enforcement. And, the beach kind of took away from that in the village code stuff, but, we should be able to, we're at full staffing now, which we appreciate, and we should be able to take care of it. Is there any questions?
No, I think you guys, not from me, you guys have any questions? So, again, I think you guys do a fantastic job. We're very fortunate. We're fortunate we can put the resources behind and support what you guys are doing. And, I've been talking about the village code stuff, and it's important to me because
Right.
it's all quality of life issues in the village. And
Yeah.
most of my time my phone rings, it's all about village code.
Yeah,
So.
I think we're moving in the right direction, because of
Yeah.
serious crimes going down, and even though there's an increase in the village code stuff, that means we're addressing it, because
Yeah,
there wasn't an increase in our activity, that means we're not doing any more.
right. Yeah,
So,
so, it's good.
okay.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
chief. Okay. We've got building inspector, building department, Mike? Yeah? I know John Foster's,
Thank you, chiefs. Thank you, gentlemen.
Was he supposed to come?
He was sick today. so,
Yeah, well, I'm certainly not going to be able to follow John Forster's
Yeah.
act, but
Yeah.
I'll go over some things that I think,
Impersonation.
yeah. I'll go over a couple of things that I think are really important that has happened in the building department, and really Mr. Bachman referred to it earlier, and it is providing tools to the departments and to the various boards so that they can do an adequate job. So here's what we did this year, and I think the first thing is that we really moved the building department up to the second floor, and they're finally sort of settled in up there, and that has been a big attribute to their efficiency. But we also pushed them to have check sheets on the different applications. Very important to make sure that all the paperwork that's required is in each folder. We've had sign-offs on the final completion for COs. That's been very interesting. Most of these projects certainly go over their initial cost factor. We haven't added on to the permits, but it's been an important piece for tax assessment. We also made a lot of zoning changes and gave them the tools in regard to height, FEMA requirements, parking, sky planes, front and side. All of it helped them move ahead and make more efficient and reasonable decisions on these applications. Going forward, we're working pretty hard on lot coverage and total GFI. That's going to be a very important piece adding to the building department, and certainly will get down a lot of the density issues and the calls that we receive. As far as their finances, they've gone from 2013 with 345 permits to 2015 with 324 permits, so that they're down on their total permits that they've been handling, which is kind of interesting, I think. But the permit costs have gone from 1.4 million to 2.5 million, and they have an operating budget of about $825,000, so they certainly are efficient in that department. The reality is that we have now additional ordinance inspector that we hired. He's doing it on a part-time basis. So overall, that department, I think, has really come a long ways in the past 2 years in efficiency and making sure that these permits are done correctly. The big thing, again, as Mr. Bachman alluded to, is providing them with the tools that they can go ahead and make sure that things are done correctly. And that's true not only here, but going on into the different departments. And that's really about it. And they have no major issues, and they certainly have a pretty happy camp upstairs.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Good. Okay. Nancy, did you
Sure,
wanna-
I'll
Yeah,
go.
okay.
I'm going to start with building maintenance and street lighting. That's John Cause is the head of that department. And so their projects that they completed for 2015, Agawam Park, they put in the walkway lighting and electric has been completed. They helped install the clock, and then wired and electrified the clock. Cooper's Pavilion, yearly maintenance to include sealing the deck, staining the exterior trim and deck railings. The maintenance of the HVAC systems in buildings as needed. That's all of the village buildings. Maintain overhead garage doors as needed, especially over at the village yard. I mean, they replaced a lot of them. They were in very bad condition. Yearly paint over the last 10 years. Yearly painting maintenance to buildings as needed, interior and exterior. They replaced wooden streetlight poles. A lot of people don't realize we have them still, but we do. And they've replaced them with the new green aluminum poles, and that's an ongoing project. This past year, they repaired in between 160 and 180 streetlights. Village Hall, they removed all the old carpet and replaced front and rear entrances with walk-off tiles and installed vinyl planking in the hallway areas. The police station, they removed old carpet and installed carpet tiles in 3 rooms and installed vinyl planking throughout the hallway. Ambulance building, they installed new carpet for the recreation room. I think they also worked on the cultural center. I think they did new flooring in the cultural center, which I don't think I see here. Isn't that true?
Yep.
It's not added, but I remember they did that. That's what they completed in 2015. The wish
And
list.
also the risers there too, they installed the risers.
Rises,
Yeah.
they installed, yeah.
Right. The 2016 projects, Chamber of Commerce replaced doors on the restrooms and install electric door locks on each door, have the roof replaced on the building. Dune Beach replaced the cedar roof on the Comfort Station. Paint antique streetlight poles, that's an ongoing project. Cooper's Pavilion, update the exhaust fan hood and the fire suppression system in the kitchen area to bring it up to code. Police station, finish installation of snow retention system on the roof and have gutters replaced. Village Yard, install snow guards on roof as needed, repair gutters damaged by ice and snow. And then Village Hall, boardroom and east front roof to be recoated with EPDM roofing material. Finish building the new railings on the east roof and continue work on the second floor. There's more to this list, but this is what's highlighted. The list goes from year to year, and then they kind of check off what they need to get done. And John Claus is fabulous and very conscientious. It's true. So,
He is.
okay. Parks Department. The accomplishments, we start with last January of 2015. Well, plowing of the snow, which was an ongoing event for the entire winter, I think, from February on. And they take care of the parking lots and the emergency areas, the police station, firehouses, ambulance, antique barn, Flying Point Park, and the entire business district, sidewalks and all school walkways, crosswalks. And then they do the spreading of the salt. Then when they're not doing that, they're building new flower boxes throughout the village of those that have seen their better days. And they paint them and they maintain about 100 boxes every year throughout the village. And in between that, they're pruning trees. Bill's favorite trees get pruned, and hedges where needed. And when the ground thaws, they start getting the ball fields ready. They have 1 softball field, 3 baseball fields, and 2 soccer fields. Then they are in and out cleaning the bathrooms and picking up garbage at all the parks, going through the business district, blowing all the leaves and picking up the garbage and debris. When that gets done, when Flying Point Park gets done, they start on the organic programs at Agawam Park, the Monument, the Southampton Center, Police Station, Historical, and our new doggy park. This consists of aerifying, overseeding, top dressing, and fertilizing. Then there are 2 fountains that they maintain, one in Lake Agawam Park and the other at the Southampton Center. Then they go into the full swing of mowing lawns, putting in new benches and tree plaques in designated areas, and also maintaining the bubbler systems in Lake Agawam by pulling up all the individual stations to clean off the discs and silt and algae growth. This year, they're planning on putting in 1 more station along the pilings of the new boardwalk. This will make approximately 60 stations that will be need to be monitored and maintained. It's a busy department. There's 42 areas of responsibility throughout the village, and they are planting over 100 flower boxes, the window boxes at the Chamber of Commerce, the flower beds at the Chamber, and the bed at the Railroad Plaza, the planters at Cooper's Beach, the planters along Windmill Lane, the planters alongside Village Hall, and the 2 beds on the monument. And then they get ready for the Memorial Day celebrate ceremonies, and then they are over at the Southampton Center for the Farmers Market, and then they're ready for the 4th of July parade. Then they get ready for the Southampton Artists Association weekend in the park. In August, they have Ellen's Run. Then they get ready for September Fest, October, and Paint the Town Pink. It is in October. Then they plant about 100 street trees every year. This past year, they started to replace trees in the business district that had failed due to a number of reasons, lack of water, all sorts of different things. By now, we have had to remove leaves by then they started to removing all the leaves from the parks and all throughout the village. In October, they sit down with the Christmas committee to discuss Christmas ideas. Then they have the Ragamuffin Parade that they're involved in. Then they bring in all the flower boxes. In November, they finish up the mowing and putting away the machinery, removing leaves, planting trees, and setting up for the Christmas holiday. Then it's Veterans Day, and then we have the annual Parade of Lights that they're involved in. And in December, it's still leaf removal. They're still planting street trees, keeping the business district clean, and hopefully not plowing snow. So that's what their year is like. So their goals for 2016. I'll read you what Larry wrote. Over the years, we have seen a tremendous amount of interest in soccer, and the amount of use of the fields at Flying Point Park has made it harder to keep it in playable condition. So this year, we will be opening up another field for all the coaches and kids to enjoy. Also, we are planning to add a rubber surface to the playground area there, as well as the playground at the tennis courts in Roscoe Drive. We are also planning on a resurface for the playground of Agawam Park, which I want to talk about in a minute. But anyway, and the fountain at Agawam Park needs to be addressed because of the years and years of frost getting in the cracks and pushing the sides away from the footings and breaking away from the pool area. So he really needs to do a restoration of that. And we can also add a new 2-inch main for the irrigation system there as well. But we have to, if we're going to take out the rubberized area around the playground down at Agawam Park to resurface that, we really, really need to talk about the Dosha property.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons why we haven't, we know that the house is going to have to come down because that was part of the original deal, and that sort of has put the brakes on me because I feel really bad about that house coming down, but it's in very bad condition now. The other thing is, I'd like to do a little rearranging there. We have a children's playground that is somewhat limited in size, but maybe we could move the juniors over to part of that area and then get into a few other things that we could do on that property besides just the children. But if we put the juniors over there, enlarge the little children's area, and we could do that now if we're going to replace the rubberized system below. So we need to work on that. And I'm glad that he's brought this up, and I'm glad they have that interest in doing it, because now we can really seriously think about that. So that's what's going on in my departments.
Bill?
I wish I had remembered you were going to do this. I had made notes at work and never thought to bring them, but in any event, the highway department does the same thing year after year. I think back, the most exciting thing in 2015, of course, was the enormous snow pile that it was accumulated at Cooper's Beach. It was just unbelievable. That's never, I don't think in the history of the village we've had anything that looked like that. And
You melt around June 18th.
Yeah.
Just about, yeah.
This year we've been a lot luckier, and although the year's still, the winter's not over. A couple of thoughts. I have talked recently with John on something that the Parks Department has 2 of these vehicles that they plow the sidewalks with, and I've asked John that when you get a snowfall, there's a period you go on out and you try to plow all the streets, but particularly the business district first and so on, and you then sooner or later cars start to arrive and it becomes messy, particularly the first day that there's snow out there. And that I was just telling him if we could ever make some kind of an arrangement with the Parks Department that when they're through doing sidewalks, that those 2 vehicles they have are much more maneuverable. And when there was a day when this last snowfall happened, the first day of it, while Job's Lane was plowed, they actually had plowed everything into where you would normally park. And fortunately, it appeared that there was nobody wanted to park there that day, but that little truck could have come, or a little plow could come along. So we'll work on something like that. And of course, you've had a,
Well, maybe they do it that way to get it off of the sidewalk so that then they can bring in the payloader to load it up into the truck to take it down to
well,
Cooper's.
it just looked like something small, and particularly like if you get a couple of cars, and the big plow just looks away, whereas they could at least do the other 70% that wasn't parked, In any event, they'll talk to each
My
other.
biggest beef is opening up areas to walk from your car
Yeah,
onto the
yes.
sidewalk.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, I can't do it. I mean, I'm not gonna climb over a hill of snow and half kill myself to get onto the sidewalk. They need to open up more accesses along, so that you can walk in the street and finally find one and make sure it doesn't have ice on it, because a lot of them are still, the brick gets very slippery. So that's a concern that I have for people who are here, who are blessed to be here all year long. That's my concern.
I don't know about that.
Anyhow, other than
last
that, the work is repetitious. It's leaves in the fall, and it always drags on. It's astonishing how people will wait. You think you've got a street cleaned off, and then suddenly there's another pile, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, somebody else is out there. But it's life in the big city, and it's more a question of you wish that the residents would all get in the mood to put their leaves out at pretty much the same time. Would make things a little easier and a little prettier, actually. But beyond that, and the sweeping and so on, John told me the other day just how much rock salt we've already expended, and it's amazing how much of it goes out there. And he often complains that some of the vehicles are, he would always like more new vehicles and so on. But when I talk to Kenny Zay, I get the impression that things are as good as, in that department. Vehicles do require a lot of extra attention, and it's just part of life in the big city again. And so I am very happy, and Kenny's group certainly knows what they're doing and are highly reliable. And I frankly think that John knows what he's doing, and he's very, very, you'll never see him fail to come to work on time and things like that. Now, his social skills are medium, and he's also, and I think that gets complicated because I think some of the people that work in that department aren't as enthused as they should be, and but I think we better let it go with that, and just thank God that we don't live in the Middle East or some place.
Okay, we're gonna stop it at that one, so. Cut off the Muslim jokes here.
That's right.
There we go.
I want to add one other thing about Cooper's Beach. Last year we did, and this was not on the list, and it should have been on the list, because John is very modest, and he doesn't seem to remember half the things
Yeah, I know.
he does. But anyway, we replaced all of the tables down there with the benches. They were about ready to be done. But I think one of the other things we're going to do this year is, a couple of years ago, we created some seats along the railing, which turned out to be really great, because sometimes you're one person and you're sitting at a table, and you're taking up a table when there could be a family sitting there, or two couples, or a couple of different people. So we put these seats along the railing, but this year we're going to have to paint the tables on them, because last year they get stained, and even though they're made with AZAC, they just need to be spruced up. So this year we'll end up. But the beach looked beautiful this year, and the umbrellas that they picked last year for them were fabulous, and it really,
Yeah.
really, really looked terrific. And did we do anything on the concession yet? Isn't that coming up soon, where they're bidding for
The
that?
bid is due next Friday,
Okay.
and it'll be presented at the next board meeting
Okay.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Steve, do you have,
Oh, a couple things just to add. I know Mike covered on the second floor. We finally got that done. Working on now the third floor to try to get a consortium up on there. Nancy covered what we did down here. The other two things that we need to do at Village Hall is the ceiling in the hallway. We're obviously going to be replacing all those lights with LEDs, and we're going to do a drop ceiling in there just to clean that up. That'll pretty much finish out the main floor here. The thing that we need to do on the outside wall, which I told John about, is that we really need to seal the brick outside, because on the south side, in a driving rainstorm, it does come through that wall, and I don't want mold inside that. We do have a barrier inside, but still, we don't want water coming through that and creating a mold problem, down the road.
I also
But,
noticed that the front windows on the building, I mean, I know they took off the flower boxes because I'm sure they were
Right.
rotting, but I'm sure they're going to fix all of that once the winter's over.
Yeah, he mentioned replacing those windows, but that's a task and a half, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 17,000 coats of paint on there, so it's going to be a rough one.
The whole front really needs to be
Yeah,
painted.
yeah, exactly. And then the other two things that we did get done this year is we got the public to have access through general code to the real estate tax information, which has helped Danielle out tremendously. Her phone calls have dropped by probably like 80%. And I know that they also can get to some of the building inspector forms and questions and such. I don't know how much volume that's helped upstairs on that, but they do. The public does have access on that now. A couple of tweaking things need to be done on that, but it's up and running.
Rich or Mike, you guys had anything else you wanted to add to stuff?
No.
Okay. Yeah, just, we continue to work on the sewer district. We're exploring kind of where they're at and alternatives. There should be a proposal from Dr. Gobler to look at the environmental impact in the lake, which he's anticipating should be completed sometime midsummer timeframe. That's what he's looking at. So, the boardwalk down at Lake Agawam, I think, was a big success this year. Beautiful. It just beautified the entire area. They did a fantastic job, and some people that helped out, Chuck Gios and those guys did a nice job. We started with the opening of the wall at Job's Lane and the restoration of that wall, which will be complete by summertime. And I think that's really going to enhance that property right there and open it up and get more people to feel like it's okay to get on there. So the monument at the World War I Memorial is, there's some issues that we're working on. Hopefully that's going to be resolved in the next month and a half or two, and should be complete by summertime. It was just a crack, and you'll see some wood supports up there, which is, but it's not they don't think it's a structural issue. So,
Don't want to come falling down
right.
on any little children.
no. So it's all good. So, we have the issues associated with the beach, and we've got some work that we're doing in the next month or so that hopefully some of those issues will be resolved, and it's an ongoing piece. So, but the 2015 was a very active time frame, and we trying to address all the issues. I mean, we did complete the affordable housing project up on Bailey Road, the 3 houses up there with the Southampton, the workforce housing, yes, up there. We had 3 nice young people that were first-time homeowners that are up there. All people that a teacher or a public dispatcher or somebody who works at the local bank. Big project, and it's used as a template for other communities now. And thanks to Southampton Housing Authority and John David Rose and a whole group of builders who volunteered and donated. What a fantastic project. So that was completed. So it was a big piece for us. So, but
There's a lot of history to that piece.
there's a lot of history, a lot of years to get to that point. So it was a 10+ year process
Yeah,
for
and
us
I
to
have
get
to say that, from when we came on board, the county had given that, when they were ready to take it back
They
from
were.
us.
Yeah.
And I give Bonnie Cannon a lot of credit, because she
credit.
jumped right in, and she worked really, really hard figuring out what was the best way to approach it, and it's a project that came out fabulously well. I mean,
Yeah.
any young person who lives here would love to live in any one of those houses.
Any person that
Beautiful.
lives.
I know, exactly. Well, I mean, any
So,
person. They're
yeah,
not big
it'd be
houses, they're
great.
1,900 square feet, but they are perfect,
They're perfect, so,
perfect little houses, but great.
great. And Steve, thanks for everything you've done for us in 2015, and we're working on the budget here with the goals.
Yep.
You know,
Around the corner.
so- Yeah, it's right around the corner, so,
It's gonna be fun.
you know, and we've got the ambulance bonds that we're
Yep.
gonna be working on and trying to
The
improve
set
our
closing
rating.
date for that is March 8th, by the way.
Okay.
It's going to go out to, well, we obviously have the call tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I think they go on sale the 16th of February.
Okay,
So that closing date is March 8th.
great, good enough, it's great, so, all moving forward.
Much lower rate, too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Projected
sure.
at 3.75 is probably going to be about 2.5%.
nice,
Right.
Wow.
Should be.
Is
yeah,
that locked in for the length of it? Oh,
Yeah, 20 years.
it's fantastic, so, that's really fantastic.
Saves a lot of money.
once that's done, what, have we made a decision as to what's gonna happen with the other property?
Well, I mean, I've always leaned towards creating a parking lot there. That's my own personal, I don't know how other people feel about that, but that's the way I would lean towards the use of that, because parking is a big issue here. There's really limited opportunities around here for us to acquire property, and it's one of these areas that I think is, yeah, there's a lot of people that park in those lots over there that work off of Main Street and stuff, so that's my own opinion. I don't know how other people feel about it, so,
To give that some thought.
yeah, you have to think about
I
it.
know we
Depends
need
how many
parking
spots we
lots,
can
but I
actually
just
gain.
hate the way they look. But that's, I know
Yeah.
we need them, but.
We need them. So I don't know, and I don't know how many spots it adds to the inventory, and, but,
It's well
hey,
worth it.
it's one spot added to the inventory is better than none, so.
Right.
Yeah, so. All right, great. Okay, so, that's that. We're gonna go to, public hearings here now, so we got a, local law, on wireless facility, so I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on local law amending chapter 116 of the village code with respect to wireless facilities.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Rick, you wanna give us a rundown on this, summarize?
As you're aware, under our zoning code, wireless facilities require a special exception use approval from the zoning board of appeals. We don't have in our existing code any particular standards for the zoning board to look at on an application. And as you're aware, we hired an attorney who has some expertise in this area of law, and she recommended two things. Number one, that we put in a definition of wireless facility into the code, and number two, that we add various standards to be looked at on an application, and that's what this law would accomplish. So it doesn't really make any change in what we have on the books now. It just identifies some standards for the zoning board to look at on a particular application.
Okay, so I'd like to open this up to board comments. Anybody from the board have any comments in reference to this? Okay.
So we're trying to create some guidelines to be able, is this what this is about? Some guidelines to be able to have the zoning board of appeals make a better decision if someone comes and says, I'd like to put a tower up in a particular neighborhood? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, they have to go to the zoning
Right.
board, but we don't have any particular standards that are aimed at wireless facilities.
Right.
So we just have the very general standards that apply to all uses. So this would provide, some standards for the zoning board to look, some guidelines for the zoning board to look at on an application.
Yeah, and it's, there's a wide variety of different types of communication systems that are out there. And And this really gives them a lot of direction as to, what we want to see, where we want to see them, what are the priorities around it, what they need to have, and then gives direction to the zoning board of appeals on what the village is looking for from their approval process, so. Any other questions or comments? Anyone from the public would like to make comment on this? Okay, no? Okay, so,
We can close the public hearing, but apparently we haven't heard from the Suffolk County Planning Commission yet. There's nothing in our book on that, so.
Not yet.
We can't take it. It'll be a local determination letter,
sure.
but we can't take any action until we receive it.
okay. So I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on local law, amending Chapter 116 of the Village Code with respect to wireless facilities.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Take action after, probably will be next month after. We'll reach out to those guys and find out.
Yeah, I think because of the snow and
Yeah,
everything
the
else,
snow.
a lot of offices have been closed.
Right.
So,
Okay.
I mean, we should probably hear by the next meeting.
Great, okay. All right, communications to the board here.
Okay, this is a resubmission to the MS East End bike ride, which is either the last meeting or the meeting before. The problem with their submission for the bike riders was conflict with the muster. They've rerouted this, so it's avoiding that area entirely.
But they still want it on the same day?
Same day, but it's not coming
Do we
through the
have-
village.
Do we have, does it show us the new?
Yeah, it's in
route?
the back here.
Yeah, it's in the back there, yeah. So, let's
I don't
see.
see it.
Let's see, it's listed here.
Okay, it's not a map.
Yeah, it's not a map, it's just a, so. Yeah, they're, basically for us, on the 25-mile run, it's gonna go David White's to Powell, Adams Street, Layton Avenue, North Main Street, Prospect, they're gonna wave at Michael as they go by. Pelham, Moses.
I'll
they'll-
wave back.
they'll wave at me on Moses, they'll get on McGee Street, and then they'll finish at the Elks Club. So they're really staying for the 25-mile.
North of Hill.
North of there. For the 50-mile route, it's the same exact route in the village. And then because, they're starting at the Elks Lodge, but really what they're doing is they're going, McGee Street north, going up into the North Sea area.
So they're not gonna
It's-
cross County
and they're
Road 39, or they?
Only at the end of so they'll get up to the light, cross at 39 and end up at the Elks Club. Okay, and, for the 100-mile, which, Rich will be doing.
Oh, yeah. With my car.
Yeah, there's 25, a 50, 100, and, that's what Rich does. So Rich will be doing the 100 twice. So, and it's the same exact route. It all stays north of the village, so.
How many bikers are involved in this?
They have,
About 300.
about 300 people, so.
Using my daughter's motorized scooter. That's allowed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'll be on.
A little razor motorized thing. So,
100 miles.
I mean,
Yeah,
I know our village police
know.
are involved in this, in a sense, I mean, they're aware of it, are the town police also aware of it?
they're aware of it. Actually, the town police are actually more actively involved in this than we are. Because they actually need to station people, I think, at the Elks
Good
Club.
idea.
To manage, traffic flow there. Where we don't really have to do that, and,
and just when they got
my
across
whole thing
39.
is all about having them stop at the stop signs and the lights, so, which sometimes they don't do, so. But, all right. So, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the MS, bike run, as per their application dated January 7th, 2016.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? All right, resolutions, item 1, resolved that the reading of the minutes for the work session of January 26, 2016 be dispensed with, and that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2, resolved that the claims to the warrants dated February 11th, 2016 totaling $204,204.85, warrant 11 general fund, $380.68 warrant 9 trust fund, and $39,710.05 warrant 9 capital reserve fund, and the village payrolls for the period from January 22nd, 2016 to February 4th, 2016 be ordered and approved. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Item 1, Aboff's paints for the building department, $1,601.30. As Bill mentioned before, 3 payments to Atlantic Salt. The first one for 124 tons of salt, $9,749.71. 40 tons for $3,180.04, and 128 tons, $10,066.85. Page 2, Cast Productions, videotaping services for January, $1,886.65. Page 3, Diane Signs, PD decals for police vehicles, $1,030. Page 4, East End Underground Utilities, street light repair, $1,100. Page 5, Global Montello Group, 3,350 gallons of diesel fuel, $3,472.28. Hampton Truck and Auto, parts for the garage, $1,521.56. Eric Hardwick, flowing on to page 7, January supplies, $1,412.76. J. Parry Enterprises, help with the snow removal, $3,570. Johnson Electrical Construction, traffic signal maintenance for January, $1,350. Page 8, Lowe's snow blower for the building department, $1,079.10. Page 9, Matthew Bender, PD Law Books, $1,580.52. Howard McElroy, reimbursement for health insurance, $3,842.16. Messiano Consulting, grant writing services for January, $1,125. National Grid for the fire department, $1,714.33. Page 10, got a couple of payments to Nelson Pope and Voorhees, all for the planning board, $1,050, $1,113, $1,077, $1,764, and 2 more page on 11, $1,185 and $1,322.25. Nina Bryant, 2012 Descendants, SCAR payment, $7,022.30. Norsec and Sons, carting for January, $4,352, and brush removal, $1,775. Page 12, New York Tactical Office Association, training for the PD, $1,199.96. Office of the State Controller, parking fines for December, $9,774.20. Page 13, PC Richards and Son, 2 TVs for the boardroom, one of which is up already, $1,698.82. Philip Mayer, legal fees for arbitration services, $2,100. Priority Dispatch, software upgrade for PD, $1,185. PSE&G, first payment for the building department, $2,582.01. The fire department, $3,134. PD for $4,466.02, and street lighting, $6,170.18. Page 15, Scott Stone PLC, SCAR payment, $6,913.12. South Shore Fire and Safety hoses for the fire department, $1,416. Page 16, Sprague, 3,008 gallons of diesel, gasoline, $3,625.54. Student North Consulting for the ARB, $1,275. Suffolk County Water Authority hydrant rental, $27,638.51. Page 17, Vince Toomey, legal fees for January, $11,855.43. Nathan Tuttle, some repairs at the Historical Museum, $2,000. And Vehicle Tracking Solutions, GPS services for January, $1,055.56. And page 18, Wayne Scott Sand and Gravel, 100 tons of sand, $1,595.55. And last page 19, Wright National Flood Insurance for Coopers Beach Pavilion, $9,076. Next warrant is capital reserve warrant. First payments to SCC Construction Management Corp. Construction management for the ambulance barn, $14,875, and a payment to Stott Architecture, again for the ambulance facility, $23,935.05. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the hiring of Christopher Guzak as a paramedic for the Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Corps at an annual rate of $25. Have a motion?
Make that motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion items. As Mark had mentioned, we talked about the budget coming up, and we do the property tax cap override. Each year, we never override the tax cap, but we usually do a public hearing to enact a local law in March to do so. So I'd like to schedule that for March.
Yeah. We should do that, that's just.
Just a safety net. It's, again, it's recommended by NICOM, recommended by our auditors to do so.
So,
It would be the same
Yeah.
local law.
Right.
Except for the date, it would now refer to this year rather than
Right.
the prior year's budget.
Sure.
So if you want to schedule a public hearing.
It would be March 10th.
I guess it would be March. That's still plenty of time.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing for local law regarding the property tax cap override.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second item is on March 10th also, we have the tax sale certificates come up, which we do every year.
Right.
And for the last few years, I've recommended that we purchase those tax sale certificates, as I would recommend again this year. Obviously at the interest rate, and luckily we're in a position we don't need the cash.
Right.
So I would like to
Better than
proceed
sitting in the
accordingly.
bank,
Yeah, it's, it's much better rate.
-4% or something
Right.
like that.
Exactly.
So, do we need to, Rick, do we need to do a
We don't really do the resolution on it, it's
do a
just
resolution, we just
agree to.
policy, so I'm in favor of
agreement.
that tax sale certificate.
We've done it.
We've done that before, so we'll do it again.
Okay. All right. And then the last one is a request for the Southampton Rotary Firecracker 8K on July 3rd, 2016. The 26th annual run.
Yeah, we do this every year, the Rotary Club does, so I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Southampton Rotary Club to run the firecracker in accordance with their application dated February 1st, 2016.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, so that's the discussion items here. We got comments from board members here. Trustee Yastrzemski?
Just quickly, I wanted to thank all the departments for the reports tonight. I think, again, it's, although very well articulated from the chiefs, but our whole village and every department has gone up. All the departments have increased in everything, from our departments, building, highway, but our public safety. It's important that the statistics that were given tonight by all the chiefs of the various departments, fire, police, and ambulance, the increase in calls, the increase in the types of calls, but more importantly, the response times. As Chief Fowler said, those response times that aren't seen in other parts of the island. So we are extremely fortunate. We have extremely talented personnel in all our departments, very dedicated, but it's important because we equip them properly and we staff them properly. So I think, that's why the numbers look as good as they do. One number I thought that was interesting that Mike pointed out in the building department was kind of a stabilizing of the building permits, which I hope that indicates the fact that we're actually they're showing a little more diligence in the actual applications, and maybe it's, because I think that's been a complaint by the public sometimes, is that they seem to be maybe just stamping things. I think that number proves right there that things are being reviewed a little more diligently. That's what I see from that number, so hopefully that's the case.
We have the 30-day submission time frame.
Right.
Yeah.
So just
That thing is
slowed it
That
down.
helps it,
Yeah.
yeah, big time.
All right. Thanks,
That's a
Rich.
good number.
Mike?
Well, two things. One, just as Rich was saying, that a real thank you to all the departments, because I've said it a couple of times. I don't think the village has ever looked better, and we got some great projects going, and it's a real good thing. And then a special thank you to all those that are volunteers, because you got to remember they are getting up in the middle of their dinners, they're getting out of bed, and a night like tonight is not real pleasant, and they're all doing it, and thank you very much for doing that. On the second item, real quickly, and there's been a lot of discussion going back and forth on the septic system. I think that the village is making a very diligent effort on furthering studies and research, especially in regards to Lake Agawam. But if you really take a close look at it, Lake Agawam's effect is an effect of several things, not just septic. And I don't think anybody's saying that the septic system is the primary source of pollution there. But when you look at today's standards and you look at what we have going on in the village, the increased density in the village, and to think that we're all running in the business district particularly on septic rings and a drainage system that is not that far technology above an outhouse, really. And, I mean, it really isn't. And we have all this technology available to us to handle waste. It would not be the prudent thing or really the diligent thing not to review it and research it and see how we can better the area. And I think we're making a big effort to do so. Despite a lot of criticism, and I think the criticism has just started, but just as we've done with the building department, you got to use the tools that are available to you today, and a technology on the septic system is so great, it would be a sin not to move forward and investigate it.
Nancy?
Well, I'm agreeing with Michael on this. And not only that, but, I mean, our water supply comes from the ground. It's simple. Our water supply comes from the ground, and we put pollutants in the ground every single day. And our business district, that seems to have more people coming in and out, is very involved with that. And I was watching a program, and they said one of the #1 issues across the United States is going to be water. And part of the problem is because, like Flint, Michigan, for instance, infrastructure is not being addressed by municipalities. We're addressing infrastructure, which I think is really, really wonderful. And I know people are concerned about overdevelopment. We worked on that so that we wouldn't have that. I mean, I saw the paper and they had Patchogue. We're not Patchogue. We're not going to ever look like Patchogue. We're never going to allow that to happen within our community. And I think that, let's face it, everything we put in the ground affects our water. So we really need to do this.
No?
The only thing I would like to say that, and I had no part in it happening, but I was really happy to see Bruce show up. And I do think we've just got to sit down. It's not a question that somebody's been a bad boy or anything like that, and find out, get it very, very clear to our Architectural Review Board exactly what their powers and I think their responsibilities as well are, and to the extent that our code is deficient, why then it's up to us to make it very clear. But there's really a strong feeling that maybe as a result, as he said, of the Ferrara case, and that they have just not asserted themselves. And I just thought this, I would drive by it the other day, and I just couldn't believe it, that house got built in this village on that street, and I think it's really wrong. But we should talk to them. Nobody has to be chastised, but we should get it straight and be clear on it. And I thought Bruce, as always, presents things very, very well. End of story.
Can I just say,
Sure.
I also, one of the things, I'd like to thank all of my departments. I think they have worked very, very hard. Larry Wojcik, who handles the Parks Department, really has been doing a very, very, very good job. He takes it seriously. And I thought the village looked absolutely beautiful this summer. And, he's on top of it, and I'm really happy about that. And, of course, John Cause does a phenomenal job. So I'd like to thank both of them.
Great, And I just wanted to say, sit down with the paychecks to all the village employees, a note from us, thanking them for their performance in the snowfalls, especially the one a couple of weeks ago where they did a really fantastic job. Everybody across the board, from PD to first responders to people plowing and even maintaining all our vehicles. So everybody did a great job. So we're very fortunate on that. So like we talked about the sewers. We're working on that. We do recognize the potential for cost overruns on different types of systems. So I've asked for people to start thinking in terms of Plan Bs and Plan Cs to ensure that when we address the issue, in a manner that doesn't place the village taxpayers in a significantly difficult position. So, which I think there's some good ideas that are coming back now. So, but hey, it's part of the process. It's part of the give and take, and so it's, Mike said, we're just scratching the surface on criticism. So, but it was a good article in the paper and very thorough
Nice
and stuff.
pictures.
So yeah, so it was really some interesting comments from some of our residents. So
Yeah, but I think Nancy made a good point. I mean, it almost one can infer that that's the direction we're trying to go, but
Yeah.
clearly not. I think Patchogue and Mayor Panteri had a very clear direction they wanted and needed to go, and they accomplished it extremely, extremely efficiently.
Yeah.
We're just
We don't
we're not
want
Yeah.
trust me, we're not
Well, we're
that's
not
not the
there.
goal to look like that.
we're not
When we
there.
redid the village business master
Yeah.
plan,
Yeah.
clearly.
That's why we already put
so
the zoning in
careful
place
about that,
first.
Because we knew that if we didn't do that, we could end up looking like Patchogue, and that was something we didn't want to have happen.
Well, we
And that's nothing wrong with
encourage-
that. They
yeah.
needed to. I mean, Patchogue needed that. That area needed that.
They
So
need
I'm not-
a whole redevelopment there. So what I'd encourage people to do is go online to the village website. The Village Business District Master Plan update is on there. It's several years old, but it was basis behind all the zoning changes that we had. It looks at not 5 years, but it looks at 50 years. And there's some good ideas in there. There's some far-reaching ideas that are out there too, but really defines kind of what encourages to build new like old, and move up against the streets, but parking in back, limits the size of buildings, and protects our skyline. And so it's a very good plan. So, but that being said, here, any further comments from the board? Okay, we're going to go to a second public comment. Anybody from the public would like to speak? Mr. White?
Very patient.
You were only going to disappoint me if you didn't say yes. So,
Your patience is
I didn't want to
appreciated.
disappoint you.
okay, that's good, that's good.
I've ordered gum trees for you.
That's good.
I think before they progress with these studies, I know you hired an outside group to design houses and how they should be, but there's a lot of problems in designing houses now because we have a lot of third of an acre lots, and it's very hard to put 4 bedrooms in them, believe it or not. And I hope that they really give a lot of public input before they try to implement anything. And I don't think there's a rush anymore. I mean, I think Nancy could tell you real estate is, the bottom's basically, I think, falling out right now. And I think to try, I get emails all day long about price cuts and, slashes and everything else that's going on now. And I think it's not wise right now to implement anything, because on top of that, people that come here now, well, the lawyers have told people, do not buy property in this village without getting permits, because the ARB's a wild card right now. I mean, they'll let that go through, but a small house, they won't let go through it. It makes no sense. And I think the problem is there's some members that cannot read plans. And I've seen it. I've been there a million times, and they're looking at it upside down, sideways. they can't see in 3 dimension, and, you know, unfortunately, that's the truth, you know? You can't candy coat it, and it shouldn't be, because you're dealing with people's money, you're dealing with somebody's biggest investment probably, and, you know, that house is, I've seen that, that's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how that passed, you know? And there's got to be more. I wrote them to you one time about, you know, you got to make sure people put wood roofs on, and make sure that people don't put flat roofs, and they don't build, you know, giant A-frame gables right on the street. I mean, I'm a builder, and I'm for all of that, but the problem is that's ridiculous. There shouldn't be a metal roof on there. When the sun hits it, it looks like, you know, it's
like 40 Meadow Lane.
it's a miniature version. But I think the village should really slow down a little bit on that, because I think there's a lot of things that are happening now that are going to really, that are slowing real estate down. And
Well, it's part of the public vetting process, so we just can't make a code change without, you know, they're doing the studies right now, because what we've asked them to do is to look at, you know, gross floor area, and we looked at lot coverage, and how do you lay it out, and to protect the graining, so that way, you know, we don't end up with driveways all over the place, and our parking out onto the streets, and a bunch of things. So, you know, they're close to finishing up the studies. They're going to be doing some public presentations to the Planning Commission. There'll be some recommendations. They'll come in here and do some presentations to us. We'll have to go back and look at, you know, making changes if we decide to make changes in the zoning code, and then that goes through the whole public process itself. So it's not like it's all going to be done in the mayor's office and without feedback from the public on it. And I'm curious to see what they're coming up with. They, you know, I haven't talked to anybody other than to sit down, and I gave her my opinions on stuff, and I think getting feedback from a lot of different people out here over that. So it'll be an interesting discussion, I think. So.
Well, I think.
And
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, I also think that when there is a slowdown, that's probably one of the best periods of time to do it, because people are anxious when we have a huge amount of building going on in the village. We've seen it happen. So if it is slowing down a little bit, and we have somebody working on it, it'll be in place, and it picks up again, because we all know that's what's going to happen. It's going to slow down, and then it's going to pick up again when the economy improves.
Hopefully. I mean, that's, you know, sometimes these last for a long time, you know. I mean, I've always had in the back of my head, the first builder I ever worked for, he was telling me that his father was buying property for $500 on, during the Depression on Halsey Neck in tax sales. So, you know, doesn't mean it's always going to pick up. And what you
Could be a long drought.
Right, but you don't want to, like, not encourage people to do things, and that's what keeps this village going, is construction. You know, a lot of people, they fill the delis, they pay the building permit, they're financing part of this village with fees, and
Real estate is a big part of this economy. I mean,
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and
It is.
You know, the people that live out here, a lot of the people that volunteer in our ambulance and fire departments are all in the construction trades. The school systems and the kids are there. I mean, so, yeah, we recognize the importance of real estate and the development of real estate. And I don't think anybody's really trying to stop all of that stuff. What they're trying to do is what I would say is, go see that Captain White House. It's on the corner of Jagger and Main Street.
North Main.
Yeah, North
Yeah.
Main Street. And,
Well,
it's
actually,
actually
North
it's
Sea.
North Sea
Yeah,
Road,
we're
yeah.
still considered
Actually, that's
North
Main Street.
Street.
That's
Still
Main Street.
You're
That's
right,
Main
that's
Street.
right. It's Main Street.
So, Marco Robert is the one who did that building. He and his partner there, and that's as fantastic of a restoration slash
Yeah, they did a nice job.
kind of expansion of that, but and modernization on the inside, but on the outside, there's very little difference between what was there before and what is there now. And I would encourage people to go over there and look at that. And
Where's the address?
It's
Cantina's
Opposite
there.
Right next
where
to Cantina's.
Cantina's is, you know, the
Captain
Jagger
Lawrence,
Lane
the
goes
white,
down
the
to Stop and
white,
Shop.
Oh,
It's the
picket
old White
fence right
House.
on-
you know,
Oh, okay,
the-
yes,
Yeah, that
okay.
one, that property.
I would
And
encourage
he added
you,
on to that house.
he did.
Unfortunately, the lot's very large, and unfortunately, a lot of these lots are like 10 to 20,000 square feet, and it's very hard.
But the interesting piece about that lot, because he's actually in the business district and zone, he actually could have gone 70% coverage on that lot based upon zoning. But what he did is he put in the deed some self-imposed restrictions on lot coverage, which I think actually make the place even better. And he reused a lot of materials from the original structure, and he dug the basement out and reused.
You have to do that. That was a mess,
Yeah,
that basement.
and he reused the rocks from the foundation, filled rocks, and built this incredible fireplace. And just what a great job he did and his team of reuse of materials in there, and keeping the original door and the front windows. And when you walk through that building right there, you realize he modernized the inside of it, kept the outside of it, and really didn't have that much of an impact. But yet, then I said to myself, why are we issuing one single demolition permit for some of these homes in this that are like that? Because I mean.
Wickapock, for
Yeah, well,
instance.
I mean, but, and you could actually go through and do a rebuild and expand and modernize these homes. So it actually had very low ceilings on the inside, so structurally, he had to go through and he raised the ceilings to like 8 feet. So he did some stuff in there that, was brilliant. Right, I'm sure from a financial standpoint, there's no question in my mind, it cost a lot of money to do that. But he protected the historic and the look on the street, and wow, what a unbelievable job that team did on that building. So.
Well, the other thing to do is investigate, or for the village to give out some kind of incentives, and I wrote that in that little thing where, people are starting, there's a new trend, people are going to the ZBA and they're getting higher pool houses again. I don't know how you can do that, it's not something that's a problem.
The height of
The
the pool
height,
house?
I mean, I've seen pool houses now that are 25 feet high, they're 2 stories high.
Oh, no,
I'm not going to say where, but there's a couple going up now, but they're, and it makes sense.
They're not
because
kidding. I mean, Rick's the attorney for the
No?
ZBA, so, yeah.
I could tell you 2 right now that I've seen. I got
Maybe they put 'em
the,
up, but they should.
3 minutes are up. That means the 3 minutes is up there, Mike, so.
that one has a button under
And you
his,
can't because of cameras.
I got
There you go.
Speaking without the
Or
camera.
Rick turned it off.
Oh, well, let's see, what's that,
The emergency lighting.
Are we on emergency lighting
One
now?
regular.
Yep.
No.
Well, but it makes sense, like some of these big houses should have bigger pool houses, and maybe that's the way to let some of these old houses stay up, where you can, you say, listen, we'll give you an occupancy for the pool house if you keep your 100-year-old house intact, or at least the front. Because or something like that, or where they could get more lot coverage if they keep the face of it. And I think that's because you have to give them something, because, like you said, there's a lot of cost to do something like they did on Jagger Lane, and it's, he did that because he loves that house in the area, but a lot of people aren't going to do that.
Well, he was really able, I mean, what?
Well, he accomplished it.
He really did.
And today, you can't build that house like that because the zoning won't let you keep the house that close to the road. So,
Actually, in the village business district, the house actually would be closer to the road.
Closer. Could go-
Really?
Yeah.
oh, I think low
Eliminate the
houses should
front
be
yard.
closer to the road and lower.
So,
But,
okay.
Are things really slowing down?
yeah.
Yeah, they are. Really slowing down. We can't even afford to pay the electric bill around here, right?
You have to take a bond for the electric
Yeah,
bill.
that's right. Okay.
No, but they, the real estate market here is the stock market. I mean,
The
people,
stock
Exactly
market
right.
is maybe in real trouble.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy today who certainly got my attention.
someday we're gonna have zero interest rates here, I'm sure.
In Japan and a couple of
Great.
places, which is insane, but the Federal Reserve, the president takes a lot of credit, and I like the man, but
This house?
the Federal Reserve bailed this country out of the damnedest situation that we ever got in, but their cannon is now empty, so if we get into another recession, there ain't nothing they can do to change our luck,
Well, I think it's definitely
Maybe
slowed
why
down.
gold was up $40 today, but
Okay, anything else here, Mike?
No, that's good.
Okay.
All right, you'll turn the lights off if you don't like
All
what I
right.
say.
I got Charlie in the back, he's flipping a switch, so.
Oh, you're right.
Anyone else from the public would like to speak? I'd like to make a motion to go into close the public session and go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel issues.
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.